There is an overlap between the way people speak when they're speaking in front of others and when they're lying. Because in both situations, you're nervous and you're scared. And it's something I call the liar's parallel. And the idea came not just from my ideas, but from my research into what communication is. So I spoke to a couple of RCMP interrogators. How do you know when someone's lying? I spoke to a couple of professional poker players. How do you know when someone's bluffing? And that's where the overlap came. And here are the 3 traps of communication. This is the liar's parallel. People who are lying, people who are scared, who are nervous, who are speaking in front of others, will speak very formally, using words that you won't normally use in front of people. So the reason it happens is when you write out what you're going to say, the way we write is not the way we talk. But when you do that, it sounds weird. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're going to move forward with some key points to address some of the key, like no one talks like that. And if you talk like that in front of your friends, they'd be like, why are you talking weird? The second trap is third person. It's the difference between telling someone what to do and saying an anecdote about when you did something. So think about it like this. It's very important that you, like all this kind of third person stuff, versus saying, when I do this, this is what happens. So speaking in third person is the second trap. The third trap is too many details. In your attempt to explain and make sure everyone understands everything, you give way too much information. And here's the thing, if you believe in the 5% rule, they're not going to remember it anyway. But the general impression is there was a lot of stuff in there, but I don't remember anything. The 3 traps of communication are speaking formally, speaking in third person, and speaking with way too many details. It's the liar's parallel, communicating in the same way that people do when they're lying. Because in both situations, you're scared and nervous. So now you know the liar's parallel. The big question in your head should be, what can you do about it? The 5% rule says that people are going to forget 95% of what you say. They're only going to remember 2 things. 1, a general impression of you as the speaker, and probably 1 thing you said. So the smart speaker prepares that in advance. When does your presentation start? You might say, when I start speaking. You might say, when I get to the front of the room. And you're sort of right. But if you think about it, your presentation starts the second people can see you. So if it's way in the back over there, because you're in the middle of row 9, and you have to walk, your presentation has already started. The second we say, please welcome so-and-so, everyone looks at you, that's the beginning of your presentation. And that's when your first impression will be made. That's when the first part of the 5% rule kicks in. So the question is, how can you make a good, strong first impression? You do a search online. You search for something, you click on the first result, you look at it, it's not what you wanted, you push the back button. How quickly do you make the decision to push the back button? Most people would be like, no. That's less than a second. That is how quickly you will form an impression of someone. That is how quickly you have to make that first impression. So what can you do? You have to get up and you have to speak in front of others, and you're kind of scared, you're kind of nervous, you're not sure, that you're in the back of the room. You got to walk all the way to the front. But your presentation started the second we all did this and saw you. How can you make something important? When you're writing, you could underline something, you could put an exclamation point, you could bold it. But how do you communicate that with words? I'm doing it now. Silence. And here's how it works. Silence does 2 things. It demands attention, and it communicates importance. So how can you use it? Is eye contact a good thing? Of course, yes. I know you're waiting for the but yes, eye contact is definitely a good thing. But when you're scared, when you're nervous, when you're speaking in front of others, and you lock eyes with someone, what happens? It always makes you stumble because eye contact is super intense. Eye contact basically means one of two things. I want to love you or I want to fight you. I agree or I disagree, but both are super intense. So what do you do when you're scared and you're nervous and you want to make eye contact, but every time you do it, it's going to distract you?